Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we're doing another type of sleeve. It's very similar to the one we've done, but we're going to be having like a twist to this. It's going to be a short sleeve. I like short sleeves for one reason. They make your garment look a little bit like, if you like short sleeves, it has its own feel anyway. I don't even know, I don't have to say much. For the ones we've done previously, I said you could work with any kind of pattern. Maybe you want like the normal darts or Styleline darts, but I'm going to be working with the Styleline darts today. And for the sake of those who don't understand how to go about it, I'll briefly draft it so we can get that done with. I'll be working with just one side of the garment since I'm focusing on sleeves and not on the bodies. And for this, I'll probably be using the length of 17. Remember, it's just a prototype. It's not like the full body. So I'm going to be using imaginary measurements just to explain how to go about style lines in a very simple way. And we're working on the princess style line today, or the Armhole princess style line. So I'm going to be using the length of 17. Always square your lines anytime you're sewing. Have a defined line. You're working from here to here. Have a line rolled out. Don't just walk around and leave your garment hanging around like that. And I'm assuming this is my center fold. And this is my center front for the front. So I'll be using the shoulder set 14, and that is 7. If you followed me closely, I've told you I do not use shoulder seam allowance. If it works for you, it's fine. Whatever rocks your boat, I don't use it because it makes my garment look odd. Some designers, we all have different ways of sewing, so I cannot say there's a hard, fast rule to it. If you want to, you can. If you're taught to, you can. Then I'm going to be using the armhole depth of 8 here. I'm going to be using like it's 17. So I don't really have the waistline, but I'm going to assume it is the waistline because it's just for a sample. I'm going to be using a bust of, let's say 36. So that's going to be 9. Divided by 4 is 9. Shoulders is always divided by 2, bust divided by 4, 36, 9. Then I'm going to be having like a 1-inch seam allowance. And professionally, your seam allowance shouldn't be more than ½ inch because we deal with people who, if you're doing bespoke, ready to wear can be ½ inch because you don't want too much bulk in your garment. But if you're doing bespoke, I'm going to advise use more than 1 inch, please, because you may have to do amendments and you may have to fix one thing or the other. I have 9 there, so I'm going to be using the waist 28. I'm going to be putting it somewhere here. Not like I really need it. I hope you understand what I mean. So I can easily put it here or here, but just to draft and give you an idea of what is princess style line, now to draft it. Choose whatever waistline. Let me say 7. The dart is going to just be 1 inch or 1.25. Now your princess seam allowance. Let me give you a tip there. You can expand the dart. Like the more dart, the finer the cup line. It's just like when you're working with bustiers and all that. So if you have like a wide dart and you can manipulate it well, you can sew it well, you can iron it, so you're going to have a very good curve. Let's just say I'm going to be sticking to 1.25 here for the sake of those who don't know. And the seam allowance remains the same, 1 inch. It is constant. And here, I'm going to go back to the 9 that we have here for the sake of, you understand what I'm saying. 9 and 1 inch. And then I'm going to connect these lines together. Don't forget, it is a sample. It is not a length. Okay, except you're making a crop top. It can be a normal length. Avoid sharp edges. Always blending. I'm going to be using a darker marker to get it done so you can see clearly. And like I said, avoid sharp edges. You can use your free hand or you can use your curved rulers to get that part done. Please, it's important. Avoid sharp edges when sewing. In fact, for this place, I'm going to be saying if you're making a top that looks like this, you're supposed to slant it a little bit. Don't make it too sharp. Then for here to here, whatever works for you. I like freehand a lot, but if you're going to be doing this, ensure this comes in first. Don't just rule like this. If you rule like this, what happens is you're missing. This is your armhole depth. It's 8. We used 8. Let me try to explain this better. This is 8. So let's say it's here. The armhole depth is here. Now, when some of you do this, you rule like this. You have skipped your allowance. And that's what happened. By the time you sew the garment, the armhole becomes tight and the bust becomes tight. Because when the armhole is tight, the tightness goes to the bust. It starts affecting the bust. So if you're not very used to this kind of thing, by the time you are amending for your customer or your client, you're not sure of what the problem is. You keep on amending the wrong thing. You're probably amending the arm. You keep on loosening the arm and fixing it back, not knowing that this is where the problem is. So preferably go like this first. You can go with your pencil first, then go this way, and you go like this. So this has given you like a curve. If you saw your 1 inch, see the curve is here. Not like you come and sew. This is what most people do. Let me show you the difference now. Now this is here. Sometimes it will even go higher. Now you can trace back. I prefer always tracing with pencils first to avoid as much errors as I can avoid. Then you can go back with your markers. If you are working alone, you don't have to use markers. I'm using markers so that the video can be clear and some of you can see clearly. And there we are. For the neckline, let's say 3.5 by 4 or 5. It's just a sample, so not biggies. Let me say 4.5. Remember, it's a sample. If you want to, you can still like take your 4 from here. So you have your dots, then you keep on, then you start changing it little by little until you get to like here. And you go back to your curved rulers. If you want to, you can use your free hand. See, I'm not saying don't use your free hand. If it works for you, no wahala, wahala. And it's just better to use your curved ruler so you can have accurate curves. You understand? It's simple like that. Then you drop the armhole. I'm going through this for those who are not used to this, so you can just learn once and for all. I'm sure I've done bodice somewhere in my videos before. You can drop this by 1/2 inch or 1 inch. That's 1 inch dropping. There are people that have dropped shoulders. If you have noticed, some people like their posture, they have dropped shoulders, meaning their shoulders are dropped more than others. So when you sew for them and you notice that by the time they wear your clothes, the sleeve, it gapes here. Like when you sew for them, it's like this part is gaping. What's happening is their shoulders are dropped more than the usual people that you can use 1/2 inch for. So when you're sewing for them, you can use 0.75 to drop. Don't use 1 inch yet. Try to use 0.75. Let them do fittings. It should work. I believe it should work. I've done it severally and it works. Because when you do 1 inch, when you drop too much, what happens is this place also starts gaping up. So I'll always watch out for errors. If this drops too much, this place starts pointing up. And if this doesn't drop well, this place starts gaping up. So that's what I want to say. That should be clear by now. Now let's go to construct our dart. There's always a dart placement for everyone. Try to look through the videos. I'll try and drop the link in the comment here on this video's caption. There's a link to the measurement. There's a dart placement for everybody, and you measure it from the center. Don't touch people's navel when measuring them. Please, it's unprofessional. Find the center of their body and draft to where it aligns with the middle of their bust. So for this person, I'm going to assume the dart placement is 3.5. The video is in my, you can check the video also. So if the dart placement is 3.5, I'm going to turn this so you can see clearly. And the dart point, maybe the point you want to put it is 0.14. It can be anywhere. It can be 15. It can be 16, depending on the length of your blouse or dress or bodice. You're gonna work on the 3.5. That means the 3.5 is their bust span. And when measuring bust span, stop touching people's busts. I don't want to use the word I shouldn't use. Be careful. Just measure professional. If you see the video, you see how I did it. When you have 3.5 here, that's the middle. Or let me take this person for 3.75. So I'm going to assume the person's bust span is 7.5. So that's the middle. Remember, we use 1.25 here. So 1.25, we divide it by 2 on your tape rule to give you some good accuracy. It's this. So that means it's going to be your marking both ways. So you mark it here and you mark it here. Okay. This is it. This is it, and this is the middle. And the bust point, let's assume this person's bust point is 9.5. Your dart should be, it's now it's a princess line. Usually your dart should not climb your bust point, and it's the same thing. So if the bust point is 9.5, we can target 10 or 10.5 and mark the same 3.75 on this point as well. So you have this, well, it's exactly the same thing. You have the same thing here, then you bring the same thing here. The same 3.75 to the base of the bodice. You construct your dart first. Construct your dart first before you decide where it goes in the armhole. Okay, there's always an armhole notch. It depends on you. It could be anywhere here. So whatever the armhole notch is, it's going to come, this is going to come all the way and go to where your armhole notch is. If you're not comfortable with your free hand, like I've told you, if you're using your curve, let the curved part be here. You can see, don't let this place be too curved. The curve should concentrate here. So go to where your armhole notch will be. That's all. See, it's here. Nothing is curved. This place is going straight. This place is looking curved. Then it's going down. On some instances, when I want to like make something a little bit curvier, what I do is I use more darts this way and I use less dart this way. So with the 1.25 that we have used, I could use half inch here and move the remaining 0.75 here. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So what happens is it gives this place more curve, and when you sew, it really sits well if it's a dress or a jacket or whatever you are making. It's simple to understand. Just find a way to fine-tune things to suit your sewing style. That's what I'll say. Then I'm going to draft. The back is normal, just normal back. Then we go ahead and draft our sleeve. So go on with this. This is your normal bodice pattern. I always have this, but I drafted this today for the sake of those who have been asking or sending me messages about drafting regular bodies. It's just a brief explanation. I'll still do more videos on that with time. So now we want to now draft like the normal, this is like power sleeves. It's not the usual. It's like something extravagant, something a little bit puffy, edgy. Let me use the word edgy. So in case you have your normal bodice template, now we're going to rebuild on another pattern. In this case, for this sleeve, we're going to be raising this place up a little bit. I'm going to be using 1.5 to raise this up a little bit for that pointed edge. You can use 1, you can use 1.5, whatever works for you. Don't forget, there is nothing that says this is what I used, but don't use too much. Because if you use too much, okay, you're going to be having some errors. I'd rather have less and work on my increase than have too much excess. Oh well, you can always amend though, so no problem. So because I'm going to save this down because I have to cut it out later. So if I raise this up a little bit, then you can, in fact, I don't want to use that. That fold looks a little bit too much. That's 1.5 rather. I think I'm okay with 1 inch. Just 1 inch is fine. That's a little bit too much because it's cap sleeve and doesn't have to look odd. You wonder why we dropped it before. Well, we just had to, because in case you're using your normal body, so it can still work it out. You can draw it straight like this, or if you want, you can make it curve. You can see I have 2 here. You can use your curved ruler if you want. So you can make it straight or you can make it curved. I like the curved one more though. Let me be honest with you. So this goes out and this goes out to meet it. If you look at the first, one of our sleeves looks exactly like this. So that's why I said it's similar. And with this now, you just cut out the new bodies. You just cut it with, it doesn't even have any problem. You just cut it with the, I'm going to curve this a little bit. It's kind of like the curved one. Then you can puff this out a little bit too and bring it to this part. When you get to this part, it must blend in. Don't do too much. Okay? It must blend in. I'm trying to get my neckline back. I don't need all the papers on the, I just need the one, this is what I need, and this part that goes here. You understand me now? I hope you're following. Let me try and show you what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to be using all the paper. I just cut, yes, just what I need. So this is all I need. The others, I don't need them. I'm going to be using this because I'm going to cut this out here. So this is how it looks at the back. So don't waste your paper and be cutting extra pattern. Paper is not cheap. I said I'll drop the link to where I get my papers from for those who can order. It's very useful. It helps me a lot. It's economical, and I don't have to be using the, I just pull out the one I use and I fold the remaining back. Okay. Now with this one now, you can just trim this off because this is all you need. This blends into this. If it's not blending to your satisfaction, just trim it a little bit. Yeah, that's perfect. So we have one. Then we take this dart out. If you want something fitted at the bottom, your dart doesn't have to be pointed. Your dart can come like this. Doesn't have to be pointed. You can have half-inch beads here. So it goes something like this. But this one we're using pointed, that's for the sake of those who are making dresses. Because for dress, it has to be pointed. That can only be applied in blouses. Now, these are front. The back, I'm going to be using normal dart at the back. I won't go through that again. I'll just cut it normally. And when you're cutting, remember to add your half-inch seam allowance here, half-inch seam allowance here, because you'll be joining them together. If you join them together, if you cut it exactly like this without seam allowance, that's a big mistake, because the 1 inch here is for the side seam allowance. This is for the center for the dart seam allowance. Don't forget. And those are basically the places I use seam allowances for. Some people use on necklines, I don't. Some people use on the shoulder here. I've told you I don't. The only thing I did here was to extend this a little bit to give us a little bit of edge on our sleeves. Same thing for our sleeve. I have my sleeve pattern. I'm not going through this again. I think I've done this before. Now we want to extend this sleeve. So the first thing you do is to build the sleeve. It looks like that one is done, but it's just like cap sleeve is always beautiful. Measure the new length that you have. What you have here looks like 5.75 plus. So basically what you can do is just put your 5.75 here and continue the measurement to make it easy. Twist and twist and twist. 10. Good. I have a total of 10. We now want to make sure this fits that. I'm going to be like marking where this stops. Like this is for that notch. It's like 4.75. Okay. Then let me just take 4.75 from here. You can use 4.5. You can use anything for when you want to do your notch. So from the center of this sleeve here, let's say you can mark 4 inches. 4 should be okay. It's cap sleeve, very cap sleeve, so you can draw, but try to make your drawing look like this. Make it look V a little bit. So if you make it look V, meaning you decide how long you want it to be from here. I'm just going to be using 2. I think I prefer 2. From that 4, and so what we're now going to do is, like I said earlier, avoid sharp edges always. Avoid sharp edges all the time. We're making an edgy sleeve, so we may need a little bit of sharpness, but you can just choose to make it look like this. like blend it in, blend well. Then you want to extend this piece up, just like we did the other time. So you're going to put this on another piece of paper like we did earlier. So you're trying to find the middle line. I hope you can see it. I'm not sure. Let me just make it darker. Okay, that's the middle line. Then we're going to have, we had 10, remember? Let's see where 10 can get us to. 10 gets us here. So if you don't want to look this way, you can blend it here, here. Then you go and get a 10. Do you understand me? On the other hand, I have two styles. Or the one that the cap sleeve, which is just, it's going to be like exactly cap. It's not going to be more than somewhere here. So let's draft the two on this paper. I'm going to be stopping that one. So this one, for that one, the V is going to be like, just use two birds to kill one stone. You understand what I mean? The same middle line exists. So for that one, where you have like very cap sleeve, the one that doesn't even get to the arm at all, what you do is you probably get your 10 first. I think I'll just get my 10 first if I'm using that style. Or you extend this by, either you get your 10 first or you do, we had like one there. Let's do 2 or 2.5 here. So now we don't need the full 10 again. This one I will need the full 10. I will need the full 10 for from here to here. You understand that one? So this, you just blend it into like somewhere here. To like somewhere here. So you still keep your curve. But in this case, we are not using a full sleeve. It's still the same thing. You just decide from here to here what you want for the cap sleeve. I like 5 a lot. I think I use 5 a lot for my cap sleeve. Just blend it in. It doesn't get down. That's the only difference. And try to see maybe where it stops here. There's 1.75 and 75 somewhere here. If you want it curved more, no wahala. Let me use another color. Just bring this to give you like a better V back to this line. Then you bring this from here back to this line. So you know it looks like an arrow. Let me say it looks like an arrow. So we have 3 styles here. We have the short one, which is this same upper part belongs to all of them. The only one you're going to be very careful with is this one. If you're doing this, make sure the measurement from here up to here matches what you have on the full sleeve, makes it a 10. But for the other ones, they're going to stop midway. So it doesn't go round the whole armhole. So for that one, you can stop anywhere. It's cap sleeve. But for the short sleeve that looks capped but still goes around the arm, for some people who have big arms, or some people who do not like exposing their arms, they may prefer it rounded, like well rounded, and some people do not mind. So for those people who do not have their arms exposed, use the one that goes round. It's still going to be cap. If I want you're cutting it, if you want, like, you can do another insertion here, what you call like, you can open it, like spread it a little bit, and but avoid too much spread, because if you spread too much, it's going to come out gaping on the arm again. So you can just stick to this, or you curve it down more to make it like like the more you curve, the more it pops up a little bit on the arm there for them, so it doesn't hold doesn't hold their arm too tight. When I'm cutting this, I'm going to be applying interfacing, because if you don't put interfacing, you're not going to be getting the exact power sleeve. Like when you're making edgy sleeves or power sleeves, there's no shortcut. You must use stay. That's interfacing. It gives you the structure you want, because they are structured sleeves.